I'm Scott Keeney, aka DJ Ski, and this is The Provokers.
Mother lover, you gon' love this. Graduated from a rebel to a revolutionary in my area, they love this. I'm a wreckhead like I'm revving the engine, heaven's ascension, every dimension, give me attention. Look at my soul, look at my heart, look at my hope. Got the world on my back, but I carry it though. Tell them God got my hand, I got the truth.
Scott Keeney, known as DJ Ski, is one of the most influential people in hip-hop. He's currently founder and CEO of digital radio company Dash Radio.
Ski is a rare breed who's made a name for himself through his exceptional work ethic, rare sneakers, and his knack for breaking the world's biggest artists.
With Dash, Ski is reinventing radio as we know it. His media empire has become a platform for emerging artists that wouldn't have been noticed in yesterday's system of big labels.
Ski spent some time with us as we discussed the future of radio and hip-hop's honest relationship with big brands.
We've really wanted to create an open environment that is welcoming to artists.
So you grew up in Minnesota, and now you're running this great empire, huge DJ, entrepreneur. Like, how does a young kid from Minnesota come out here and do this?
I mean, my story really shows that anybody can do anything. It doesn't matter where you're from geographically, you know, status-wise, connections that you have. For me, I found my passion, which was music and DJing, and laser focused on that and did everything that I could to make it happen. And that's how Kid from Minnesota ended up out here. And a lot of these things have been opportunistic, and I never had a specific plan to do a TV show and build a TV network and build now a radio platform.
What are some of your favorite Dash radio stations?
Some of my favorite stations right now, I love Dash X because it's kind of our flagship station. We have our Pop X stations, our Hip Hop X stations, and all of our X lineup is flagship, but X is cool because it's what we consider like future pop and sounds of today. It's not what you're gonna hear on the top 20 pop stations. It's gonna be artists that are super cool, super hip next.
What sorts of numbers are you doing now with Dash Radio?
With Dash, we're now up to 10 million users monthly, which is kind of insane because we haven't spent any money on marketing or user acquisition. It's all been strictly, you know, empowering talent with radio and audio as a new tool to use in their arsenal, as well as brands to come in and jump on board with that. And now the best thing about that is that our built-in kind of focuses, which have been content and distribution, really lead to that growth. Secondarily for us, we then are able to really create this immersive experience that is definitely, in terms of branded content, something that people know is sponsored and there, but something that people opt in for, as opposed to an ad where they're forced to hear it. People will come into us to hear a branded station that we have because they want to hear the content on it, the DJs on it, and it gives them something really cool. We think that people are fine being marketed to, as long as they're getting something out of it. It's not something that's forced, that they have to see. It's not like you have to listen to this pre-roll or watch this, or you know, you're forcing them to do something. We're giving them an option by creating this really cool content, and that's how the Dash model has worked so well with some of the early brand tests and things that we've done already. Always being around the latest and greatest talent and musicians and just seeing their thought process, being in the studios, interviewing them, watching somebody like Post Malone come up here and do his first ever radio interview, or bringing him to the TV network. And I remember the TV network jamming me up like, why are we putting Post Malone? Who is this guy? Why are we putting him on TV? And I'm like, guys, you have to trust me. This is what we do. And now they're like, oh yeah, this is the same guy, #1 artist in the world. He broke the Beatles record. Like, yeah, I told you, you guys were complaining about those things. So I love being a part of those stories early on. And that's what really, you know, gets me. When you look back in the history and it's like, we were the first to have that. And we were really instrumental in helping break and introduce these people to the market. That's what really, you know, excites me on a day-to-day basis.
What's your recommendation to brands to just not make it transactional for these guys, but to make it more natural and collaborative?
So you hit a key point. One of my big sayings is, and we deal with this whether it's NFL teams, is a lot of things are very much more transactional driven instead of partnership driven. I believe the best collaborations come from figuring out ways to bring two parties together that benefit both.
What's a question you wish you were asked more often?
The question I wish I was asked more often is, it's a great question. There's so many things, but I think is, what would you do if you were us? It's typically like, hey, here's what we're doing, here's what our strategy is, let's do this, let's fit that in a box. Instead of being like, hey, here's what kind of our goal is, what would you do, how would you react with that? And then we can work together to develop that.
Piggybacking off of everything that you've said, would you say that's why the talent keeps coming back and hanging out here and doing shows with you, is your approach to just being genuine?
Yeah, I think my approach has, kind of built a lot of the foundations and goals that this company's built on, as well as my team. It's not just me. We really wanted to create an open environment that is welcoming to artists. And it's funny, because being at some of the biggest radio stations, the offices and studios and even TV, they're just not cool and not fun and not conducive. It's like very sterile. You walk in and artists don't really open up. For us, it's all about creating the right vibe and the right energy, because that's when you get the right reactions out of artists. It's when you create the energy and create an environment that they want to come to, as opposed to something that they feel like is an obligation.
So it sounds like you're really amplifying outside of the four walls of an event.
That's really what we do. We amplify brands, messaging, and everything that they're already doing while adding this new resource. The same way that YouTube has empowered people to watch videos outside of just television, we're doing the same thing with audio.